Welcome to another edition of the Eye Care Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Bianchi, and this is presented by Visiclix, the digital marketing agency just for the eye care industry. We're very fortunate today to have on the podcast with us a man that I've known for not just years, but decades, actually. Danny Wayne. We worked together in Terre Haute at a radio station, and we've been friends ever since. World, I'd like for you to meet Danny Wayne. Danny Wayne, meet the world.
Thank you very much. I am really looking forward to this. First, I want to thank you very much for what you're doing to reach out and educate optometrists and ophthalmologists, because I'm on the other side of that. I'm somebody that walks that path every day, and I put my trust in quality eye care, and that means a lot to me.
Why don't you let everyone know your history with optometrists and with ophthalmologists? From what I understand, you've been seeing them your entire life.
I have, Mark. I was born with just vision in one eye. I have glaucoma. They removed the left eye when I was 9 or 10 years old. I have had prosthetic eyes, or some people call them glass eyes, from that time period until now, until forever. So I've had several surgeries, Norton Children's Hospital, Louisville, Kentucky. Other specialists have looked at me from Cincinnati to Barnes and St. Louis, and monitoring the pressure is the challenge now. My visual acuity has changed. About 10 years ago, I was using enlargement software to navigate computer screens, but now, because of the decreased vision, I now use what is called assistive technology, which would be a device to audibly let me know what's going on the screen.
That's amazing. Think about where technology has gone from the time that you were a child to where we are now. I mean, you've seen all of these major changes in technology. What's been probably the biggest change in technology just to help you somehow get around in a very visually enhanced world?
Mark, it's definitely an iPhone. That is something that has become a tremendous tool. We really plan to get the newest iPhone soon because it has features in it that will enhance my independence. And having a device like that, you and I have talked about this over the years. It's a handheld computer.
A computer in your pocket.
It is, but the one thing that I have done over the years is I've helped other people learn how to use it. And that's something I really want to stress with assistive technology, whether you're an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, and you recommend something for someone. Let's make sure that there is some skills there to train somebody on using that, because once that you give me a very expensive pair of glasses, if I don't wear them because they hurt my nose or something along the lines like that. So training people to give feedback, to say, this is not working this way for me, or the light it's too sensitive. Can we shade some of the visual tools that you have for me, especially when it's glasses?
So I believe you're involved with a nonprofit where you live that helps visually impaired people. Is that correct?
I am, yes, Mark. I'm working with an organization that is a national group. It's called Vocational Rehabilitation Services. Now, they're a partner across the United States. Their offices all over the U.S. They're federally funded, and their goal is to match individuals like myself who are seeking employment or independence with resources that can help those modifications become part of your work partner, I guess you can say. And so many times, especially in my situations, the accommodations have cost less than $500. But optometrists and ophthalmologists may not know about this because they're so busy seeing people every day. But I hope that picking up on your resources, these individuals, the doctors or their support staff, can take some of this information and carry it forward. Because, Mark, somebody's walking out of an optometrist or ophthalmologist office today, you know what they just told them? Your son has Stargardt's, or your child is diabetic and has diabetic retinopathy. What does that mean? It's not the end of the world, but let's reach out and get some tools to help them. Yes, eye drops are a consistent thing, but let's give them something on the other side of the fence.
Right. I remember when you and I worked together in radio, we had a studio set up to really help you do your air show. And the amazing thing was, unless you knew the situation that you were in, that you had glaucoma, most listeners had no idea that you were dealing with this. And you somehow were able to get all of your music together, get all the commercials together, run the console all by yourself without any help from anyone else. It's just really impressive. So I guess, was it the tools that you had at the radio station that helped you do that? Was it just you because you've always been able to adapt to those types of situations your entire life? Was it a combination of the two?
Mark, it was fortitude and assistive technology. What I would have in the studio with me is radio stations print out a log of music, just like you're doing a log of activities. And I had what is called a video magnifier, which is a camera mounted underneath of a screen, and that would enlarge the context of what I was doing. And there was times when I would read a 10-second commercial, some sponsorship, that we would have pre-recorded commercials, but there was some obligation to read those. So I had a pretty good memory at the time, but also, honestly, it's my fortitude. I mean, I still love radio today, and I hope people embrace secular radio. I know that's changed a lot, or podcasting in the other aspect, but it's my fortitude as well as the tools that were given to me. And to be honest with you, Mark, people gave me a chance. I was working for you, and I don't know if you remember this, but I worked in the basement and we worked at night. And
Yeah.
the somewhat upper management said, if there's a fire, he can't get out. And you said, this is the guy you want if there's a fire, because his senses are there. So please don't overlook the maybe and my body's not perfect, nor are yours.
You
Nobody's
got that right.
perfect. Yeah, take these tools and help these individuals. The ophthalmologists, optometrists that do spend some time listening to this, please reach out to Mark or myself. We've made some modifications that were very simple to do, and we accomplished it. Working in radio, one of my biggest challenges was, obviously, and Mark and I would joke about this all the time, I couldn't drive the van to go to broadcast remotes. So we had to have somebody do that for me. And that's still the case today. I have an entertainment company, DannyWayne.com, and I constantly have someone with me. However, I have the fortitude and the resources. And sometimes we can do some tricky things, Mark, that people don't think about. Touch screen is a challenge. Well, maybe a piece of plexiglass over the touch screen, and someone could drill some holes on the most common reach-in touch points that you have. That's a simple solution for something like that. I just think ophthalmologist, you're part of my team. If I'm successful, then you're part of the team. You're in the team. You're in the huddle with me. So let's break the huddle and help these individuals that are on their way up in life. Some of those individuals are young with diabetes, some with Stargardt's. Older individuals, the word macular degeneration is a scary thought for anybody, Mark, but it is workable.
So if they've never heard of the organization that you work with, how can they find out more?
I think if they do a search for vocational rehabilitation services in Mexico or New Mexico or California, I think you'll find the offices are similar. There is an intake process. They have helped me with going to school. They've paid for note takers for me. They will pay for a variety of tools for you. But the other side of that is you have to be accountable. You know what? You set a goal or two that you want to accomplish, and hopefully you follow through on that goal. Communication. I just cannot stress that enough. But vocational rehabilitation service has a successful track record. They're as successful as you, the individual, want to take on and take the reins.
Does vocational rehabilitation service, do they offer these services free of charge?
Yes, they do, as a matter of fact. Now, first of all, I want to back up. You have to qualify. It's not just for individuals that are visually impaired or hearing impaired. It's individuals that maybe have had a boating accident and they have the use of a wheelchair, but they still want to work. They certainly can do computer work, or they can do whatever. So it's kind of like one of those 360 tools to help a person with a disability. My pathway has always been the visual impairment, and they've helped me in a lot of ways with tools for my work site. But then also they have helped me with nutrition. An example is they've taught me how to become a more effective person in the kitchen, preparing my food and having the confidence to pick up a knife and maybe cut some vegetables without cutting your fingers off. So those type of things are, and food is something that we all like. Yes, the stove can burn you, but there's certainly, I've been taught some really neat things, very simple ways that I can access the stove. As a matter of fact, I did fish sticks last night. Mark, you probably grew up on fish sticks as a kid.
I sure did. Fish sticks and macaroni and cheese.
Yes, we set the oven at 350. There is a piece of At the very end of the rack, there's something there. So if I reach my hand in, I won't burn my hand. How simple. That was probably 10, 12 cents for something like that. So the pathway to independence is still strong. And those of you who are listening to this, please become a partner.
Yeah. And also throughout your life, like I said, you've seen so many optometrists and ophthalmologists. Were there any in particular that stand out to you that were really helpful to you? Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, I do. There was two individuals. It was Price Vision Group in Indianapolis, Indiana. Dr. Price and his staff. I went to them on a couple occasions. Was losing more of my vision, and I didn't know what was going on. And the Price Vision Group folks said, "Hey, it's your pressure, your glaucoma. We'll do some work here with you." And then I had to go back to them a few years later, and they did a partial cornea transplant. Price Vision Group Indianapolis and Advantage Eye Care in Clinton, Indiana, Dr. Charles Rutan has constantly monitored me for 30 years, wow. 35 years. And before you ask, no, Mark, there's not anything in the pipeline right now for transplanting an eye.
Right. But I would bet that partial corneal transplant was huge for you.
Mark, it was. I vividly remember Dr. Price, his work only took 20 minutes.
Wow.
And literally, he just simply said, "Dark," as he removed the partial cornea. And then I said, "Dark," and he goes, "Light." I said, "Light." He goes, "Okay." And then he was finished, So, but today, I mean, I have some visual acuity back. Now, there's three different things to talk about here. The definition, legally blind, is for someone who can see at 20 feet what maybe, Mark, you would see at 200. Maybe a Gibson Les Paul guitar might be sitting in the window of the music store.
I can spot that from a mile away.
Exactly. So, but then there's two other areas. There's what's called light perception, and there's totally blind. Now, mine is slightly more than light perception. In other words, I can be outside and I can tell you which way the sun is. Right. I can tell you what direction it's from. And people are fooled by this. And now I do use a mobility device called a white cane. The goal with that, and one of my friends asked me this the other day. He said, "Is the white cane more for you or for other people?" And I had to think a lot about that. It's honestly for both, because I don't want to step off of a curb and twist an ankle, but yet I don't want to walk into a door that's not open because I can't tell. But yet if I ask someone, "A register is," and they're like, "Well, what's wrong with you? You're blind?" Actually,
matter of fact, yeah. And they ask you that when you have the white cane?
Yeah, yes, I've had that happen to me. And one time I was being trained and we were on a very busy road and I was using my white cane. I was just beginning to use it. And a lady stopped her car, got out, came over to me and stopped and said, "May I pray with you?"
Wow.
And I didn't know what to say or do because I'd never had somebody do that. And my mobility instructor at the time said, "Danny, it's okay." So she stood there and prayed with me and she felt better. Yeah. And I continued with the same visual acuity to this day. So
right.
We're still a work in progress, but
hey, it never hurts to have prayers coming your way, right?
It really doesn't. And Mark, because of the smart devices that are out here now, things can be done a lot better. And I know you and I have had lengthy discussions about artificial intelligence. Where's that taking us in the future? And it's kind of like the Wild West. I know you and I have talked about this a few times. This type of technology, it's the Wild West. We don't know which way it's going. There are a pair of sunglasses now that are about $300, and they give you audible feedback. You can walk into a room and it will tell you if there's open seats for you. These are the Ray-Bans. They're not expensive. Wow. And the other thing that's a challenge to a lot of us and why this technology is so expensive is because we're a very, very, very minute clientele. Because, they developed this device, 500,000, 2,000 people can use it. There's something coming down the line in 2026. It's called the Glide. Picture something about the size of a vacuum cleaner with two cameras on it, one about bell tie and one at the very bottom. This device will literally help you let's say you're at a conference. Let's say Mark is doing a presentation for optometrists and ophthalmologists, and you want to go, but there's a lot of people there in the hallway. Well, this device will guide you around these individuals. The price will be about $1,800. They're still in research in Seattle, Washington on this particular project. And the gentleman that's developing this was part of the Windows Soundscape program that was launched by Microsoft a few years ago. He took that a step. Beep. That's an audible signal for individuals that are sensory challenged. I worked on this project in Terre Haute, Indiana, with some other individuals. It took us 3 years to get these, but the heaviest traffic I knew was in downtown Terre Haute, Indiana. A new convention center was coming,
Sure.
but I got these audible signals in place, and they're there now, and we use them every day.
Wow. It's amazing to think of that AI technology you were talking about, that device that can get you around people and get you around a crowded hallway. Is that something like a Segway?
I think it is, but you walk with it. You don't ride on
Okay.
it. You can kind of push it at your speed, and it will give you feedback by vibrations, etc.
See, you do push it around like a vacuum, is what you were saying.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
not
size
as
of a
heavy.
vacuum. Yeah.
It,
And it
it's-
probably doesn't clean the floor.
no, but maybe your sock feet could.
You could pay extra for that feature, though, right?
I think you should go to Seattle and make that one of your other 18 jobs besides providing these resources for
Yeah.
agencies and organizations.
That would be awesome. Well, one more time, Danny, if you could just let us know again how the optometrist and the ophthalmologist can help their patients who are visually challenged
Yeah.
with this. I'm sorry, what was it called again? The
Vocational
vocational-
rehabilitation services.
just
The
look
short-
that keyword with your location, like Indiana or New York or New Mexico or what have you, and you'll find links to your local branch of that, I would assume.
Absolutely, Mark. And I help individuals do. And obviously, Mark, this is a real important platform. So optometrists, ophthalmologists, and your support staff. Most importantly, sometimes your support staff can say, I heard this guy talking on a podcast and he said to put a rubber band around your shampoo bottle so you always know, or to put a rubber band around your toothpaste and then squirt it in your mouth instead of on your shirt.
Yeah, that's a good idea because you can still brush it once it's in your mouth, right?
Yes.
There's so many tips and tricks. Maybe we'll have you on sometime just to talk about all these different tips and tricks that you have.
Would love to do that, Mark. And thank
That
you.
could be a lot of fun.
Yes,
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that toothpaste idea today when I brush my teeth later on. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yes, and one small thing: when in a doctor's office, when somebody visually impaired comes in and you have them sign something, take a paper clip and just slip it right below, above or below, and say, "Here, just sign below the paper clip."
Great
That's
idea.
a 3-cent solution.
Yeah, it is. That's a great idea. Danny, I got to tell you, you've been an inspiration to me my entire life ever since I've known you. I've told so many people about how you were able to do this job, be the #1 disc jockey at the radio station in Terre Haute. People loved you to the point that you're still DJing weddings and special events, and that's your primary source of income, I would assume, other than maybe any other income that you're getting. But that's certainly got to be up there, and that
Right.
really is something that someone in your situation has decided you're not going to let life get you down. You're not going to let your circumstances get you down. It'd be so easy to quit, and you don't do that. You continue to forge forward, and you do. So I'm very impressed. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. And just a side note, I do have a part-time work with vocational rehabilitation services in Terre Haute, Indiana. They came in and said, "Hey, let's," so I'm doing some work with them now. So, but the DJ work is passion, Mark. And I had it when I was a kid. I listened to the radio as a kid. And my first start was at a blind school working on a 1-watt radio station.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, thanks for being here, Danny. I really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll have you back on again, and we'll have you talk about maybe some of these great tips and tricks for if you are visually impaired, how to deal with that. There are some people, like you said, who probably just now are being affected with it, having been able to see for many years, and all of a sudden they're at a situation where they could use some of these tips and tricks and figure out how to still have as much of an enjoyable life as possible, even though they have the visual impairment. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.